Hello, everybody. This is Jacob Jans. Thank you for being here. It's great to see so many writers from around the world here. We'll be starting in just a couple minutes. It's great to see so many people from all different parts of the world. Hi, Shelley from Lexington. Hello. Um, hello in India. Ekta Perswani. Hi, Shirley from BC. I'm in Toronto right now. This is Jacob in Toronto, Jacob Jans. We're going to be starting in just a minute. We'll let everyone show up before we go into the actual presentation today. I'm just giving everyone a couple minutes to arrive. So I'm excited to be giving this presentation, and I hope everyone gets a lot of value out of it. So thank you everyone for being here. Hi, oh, someone else is in Toronto too. Good to see another Torontonian here. Hello, Angelica from the Philippines. Hi, Gary from Texas. Oh, another person from Texas, Shrileka. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Bucharest. Hello, I've been to Bucharest actually a long time ago. Hello, Narcissa. Okay, so we're just about ready to get started. I'm going to turn off the screen share. Hi, everybody. This is Jacob Jans with Writing Launch. Many of you know me as the editor of Freedom with Writing. Some of you also know me through my work for Authors Publish magazine, which I also help run. And many of you also know me through my work with Writing Launch, which I founded with Ian Chandler. Ian has given many presentations over the years to students of Writing Launch, and I'm starting to do more of those presentations. So I'm really happy to be giving you this presentation today. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about today comes from my experience working as an editor for Freedom with Writing, but also working, helping the editor of Authors Publish and learning a lot just through talking to other editors, and also through our experience at Writing Launch, teaching students how to get published in publications. And I do have to say, a lot of the credit for this presentation does go to Ian Chandler. He's the co-founder of Writing Launch, and I personally have learned a lot from him over the years about what it takes to get published as a freelance writer. I come from more the side of the editorial. So I understand the editor's perspective, and he really understands the freelance writer's perspective because he's much more of a freelance writer than I am. I'm more of an editor. So I want to thank Ian as well for everything that he's taught me and everyone in the Writing Launch community over the years. So without further ado, let's jump into the presentation. I'm gonna share the screen, and here we go. So today I'm going to be talking about how to win over an editor in 150 words or less. Oh, sorry. And so this is important to cover right from the top. I'm going to be talking about freelance writing only. Now, I started as a writer, as a poet, and I know how to submit poems, and the process for submitting poems or any creative writing is very different than the process for getting published as a freelance writer. And this presentation is even more specific than freelance writing, because freelance writing covers so many broad areas of writing. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to get published by publications such as magazines, websites, established websites, and blogs if they accept work from freelance writers. So if you're submitting creative writing, that's a different process. If you're applying for a job, that's a different process where you'll be submitting a resume. And also, if you are proposing to work for an individual client as a freelance writer, offering business services, that's also a different process. So this will be the process that you're going to follow, and what you need to know to learn what you need to know in order to get published in publications, magazines, established websites, etc. So there's basically two steps to getting published and paid as a freelance writer in a publication. The first step is you got to choose a publication to pitch. And the second step is you have to send a quality pitch to the editor of that publication. That's basically all you need to do. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into it. I'm going to give you as much information as I can to make it so that you can succeed following those two steps during this presentation. So what you're going to do after you choose a publication is you're going to send a pitch. And that's what I'm talking about with this 150 words. You need to write 150 words that proposes that you write an article to a publication. So a pitch is a simple, short, concise email. And I say email because 99% of pitches for publications now happen via email. So you got to be comfortable using email in order to send a pitch and get published. So it's just a short email to an editor saying, hey, I want to write an article for you, and here's what the article is, and here's a little bit about me. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, is really how to write that email in a way that gets the attention of the editor and wins them over very quickly and gets your proposal accepted. Now, a pitch isn't generally an entire article. You want to propose an article and not write the article before sending the pitch. So why 150 words? It comes down to the fact that editors are really busy. Personally, as an editor, I do not like reading pitches. I often put them off until the last minute just because there's 30 things to do on my to-do list for a day before I get to the pitches. And when I finally have the time to read pitches, I just want to decide very quickly whether or not the pitch is going to work for me. And so I need to know whether or not I can accept the pitch, but I'm really busy. So you want to be really clear and concise with your pitch to respect the editor's time. In my experience, I've never accepted a pitch that was extremely long. You really want to have short pitches. And when I first put this presentation together, I thought, let's have this all about 100 words or less. But as I started looking through the pitches I've accepted, it turns out that up to 150 words is probably a little bit better of a length, because that's long enough to really communicate your idea, but it's not so long that you're going to be wasting the editor's time. So there's a lot that you want to accomplish in your 150 words or less. You want to demonstrate a clear understanding of the publication. This is super important. And right off the bat, as an editor, I know immediately, usually from the first sentence or two, whether or not the person sending me a pitch has any understanding of the publication. So you really want to make sure you have a clear understanding of the publication. And you also want to demonstrate your ability to write clearly and concisely. This is part of why a short pitch is so effective, because if you can accomplish all of these things in just 150 words, that demonstrates your ability to write clearly in a way that synthesizes a lot of information. And that's something that editors really, really value. And that's something that you can do in your pitch. And that goes to the next point, where you really want to prove that you're qualified to write the article. And if you can write something really clearly, really on target, and really, really concisely, that alone is often proof enough that an editor needs in order to accept your pitch. And another thing you want to do is you want to show that you just might be easy to work with. So many editors have experience working with writers who are, frankly, a pain in the butt and a waste of time in the long run. So you really want to show that you're professional, you're easy to work with, you're going to meet deadlines, and you're going to just do the job that needs to be done. And of course, you all, in addition to all of these things, you need to communicate your idea for an article, because this is the core of the pitch, is what it is you're proposing to do, what article you would like to write. And finally, you want to invite the editor to respond to your pitch. So that is what your 150 words should accomplish. Your short pitch should accomplish all of those things. And I know it's a lot that you're packing in there, and it's a lot that goes into a pitch. It really ends up being pretty simple. It's not necessarily easy. That's part of why Writing Launch exists. We spend a lot of time with our students helping them learn the ins and outs of writing a good pitch, and really going over going over the errors that are really common, and how to avoid them. And we often give simple corrections to our students that really increase their odds of success. So that's what your 150 words should accomplish. And I'm going to be talking more about this as we go along in the lecture. So because those 150 words are so important and have to accomplish so much, most of the work you're going to do for writing the pitch happens before you write the pitch. And so let's talk about what you need to do before you write a pitch. The first thing you need to do, and this is really important, I know so many of our students at Writing Launch have gotten stuck never really doing the right pitch because they didn't get the right mindset. As I said earlier, I come from a creative writing background, and as a poet, so much of my writing is very personal and about my own personal identity and who I am as a writer. And that is a good mindset for creative writing, really digging into the meaning and value that I am giving and who I am as a person. But that's not the perspective you need as a freelance writer. Don't ask, am I good enough? Because that's the wrong perspective for freelance writing. As a freelance writer, you are a service provider. You are a business owner. You are providing a valuable service that editors need. So ask, am I proposing to provide a service that this person really needs? And does the service that I'm providing meet the specific criteria that an editor is looking for? Can I meet that criteria or not? So that's what you want to be thinking about. Can I fill the needs of an editor? Not, am I good enough? Just think about a checklist of what the editor might need and check that off in your mind. Yep, I can write this article. It will be the tone, the style that the editor needs, and I can submit it on time. Those are very straightforward questions you should be asking yourself, not these more slippery questions of whether or not my writing is good enough, whether or not I'm good enough. Just straightforward, are you providing service up to the expected level? So another thing you want to think about is when you send a pitch, expect rejection. So many freelance writers, in my experience, so many people who want to be freelance writers don't let themselves ever start because they're scared of getting rejected. And so many freelance writers who actually succeed, they think, I'm going to send a pitch out. It's probably going to get rejected. That's just part of the process. So you almost, when you get experienced at this, you almost start looking forward to getting rejection emails from editors saying, no, thank you, that doesn't work for me. That's just part of the process. You should eventually learn to look forward to it. I know that is kind of a strange idea to people who are new to freelance writing, but just expect rejection. It's part of the process. And finally, you really want to understand the role of a freelance writer. A freelance writer really exists, as I said, to provide a service to the people they are writing for. Editors need articles for their publication. You can provide articles for the publication. So it's really, just think about it in terms of providing a service and not about providing something of immense artistic value. You're a service provider, so that's your job. You're a professional. So when you write a pitch, you really have to think about the two audiences. that the two audiences that you'll eventually be reaching. The audience of the readers who will eventually read the article if your pitch is accepted. And you want to think about what role the article will serve in their life. Is it practical information, or is it written for entertainment? What specific outcomes or experience will the reader have? These are the types of questions that editors often ask about their own readers. And you want to start thinking about the readers in the way editors think about readers. So as you are going through the process of choosing a publication and brainstorming ideas for your pitch, you really want to keep the readers in mind. But at the same time, you want to be keeping the editor in mind. And editors, they need articles to publish. They have a publishing schedule, deadlines, they're busy. And they need competent writers who can submit polished articles that meet their specific needs. So editors really want someone who can just get the job done and can do it in a way that makes the editor's job easy. An editor's job is to make sure their publication happens. And sometimes they end up having to write the articles themselves. And frankly, most editors can write most of the articles in a publication, but they don't want to. That's not their job. Ultimately, they want to hire you to write those articles. So that's what you need to keep in mind in terms of editors. So the next step before you send your pitch is you've got to find a publication to pitch. There are a lot of free resources out there, as well as paid resources available. I published something called the Paid Publishing Guidebook, and we're working on the next edition of that right now. Last year's edition had over 1,500 publishers that pay freelance writers. The next edition should be coming out pretty soon. If you're watching the recording of this, it may be out right now. At Writing Launch, we have a database of over 1,800 publishers, and it includes contact information as well as payment rates for all of those publishers. And it's really easy to search, so you can find exactly the type of publisher you may be interested in. And we have a team member who works on that every week. You should also get really familiar with Google search. You can find a lot of publications just by searching, for example, for submission guidelines plus the topic that you're interested in. So you could search for submission guidelines yoga and come up with a list of submission guidelines for yoga publications. Many of you know also my work at Freedom with Writing, where we send out weekly and regular updates of opportunities to get published by various publications. That's another resource. Another resource is Twitter. I recommend that you follow editors of publications you're interested in on Twitter, because often they will post calls for pitches. And if you see those, that's a great way to get involved with that publication. And also, if you're following an editor, you'll also be you'll be more aware of the types of articles and things that they're currently thinking about. And finally, another thing you can do is simply ask for help. Find a mentor, an experienced freelance writer. They often have specific ways to find publications that you may not have thought of. Network with other writers. A lot of what we do at Writing Launch is help our students find publications. So you can always just ask for help from someone who is more experienced than you. So when you're looking for publications to pitch, there's a few things you want to keep in mind, because you don't want to send a pitch to a publication that does not work with freelance writers. You want to make sure that you're sending a pitch to a publication that works with freelance writers and also is not really, really impossible to get published in. For example, I know that the New Yorker, one of the most famous publications in the world, does work with freelance writers, but they only hire one freelance writer maybe every 5 years. So go ahead and send them a pitch. But as I said before, expect rejection. So when you're looking for publications to pitch, there's a few things to keep in mind. Ian Chandler often teaches this idea that you want to look for medium-sized websites, not like the major websites that everybody knows about, but smaller ones that are less popular and more niche. And when you're looking at these smaller publications, look for multiple bylines. Now, a byline is basically an author. So if all of the articles are written by the same one or two people, then that means they're probably not going to work with freelance writers because they have one or two people writing all of the articles. However, if there's a dozen different people writing articles, that means they are rotating through a lot of different writers, and they'll be happy, or more likely to be happy, to bring on a new writer. So that is a really good thing to look for, is multiple bylines. Another thing to look at is you want to see whether or not they pay. And obviously, if you're a freelance writer, that means you're operating a business and you want to actually earn income. So you want to make sure that the publication you're pitching does pay. There's a few ways to go about that. One is to look at the Writing Launch Markets database that we have for Writing Launch members. We've researched payment information for those publications. The Paid Publishing Guidebook also lists payment information. There's a great website which is crowdsourced called Who Pays Writers, and that also lists payment information for publications. And if you ever get published and paid, you can report your payment information to Who Pays Writers to help other writers know about payment rates for that publication. So you also, another thing you can do is you can look for more signs that the publication does hire freelance writers. And one tip I like to do is look at the contributor bios, those short author descriptions at the end of articles. They often say that the person is a freelance writer. And if it says in their bio at the end of the article that they're a freelance writer, that's a great sign. That means they probably are a freelance writer for this publication. Another thing you want to do is look at the submission guidelines pages. They often spell it out very clearly. Always look for the submission guidelines pages. That is something that you can't ignore. So if the submission guidelines pages are there, that will often spell out exactly what you need to know. So once you have chosen a publication, the next step is you want to study the publication, and you want to get a sense of the types of articles they publish, how often they publish, the categories or departments they typically publish in. And of course, you want to make sure that you can find contact information for sending a pitch. You don't want to spend a ton of time researching the publication without being able to contact the editor. So spend a little bit of time just getting a sense of the publication, make sure you have the contact information for the editor, and then you can spend more time researching the publication more in depth. So read 5 to 10 articles. You don't have to read them in depth, just read them quickly, get a sense of the style of the publication, the topics they're interested in. And then, very important, you want to make sure you look at the submission guidelines if they have them, because that is going to tell you anything you need to know in terms of pitching. If they tell you to do something in the submission guidelines that contradicts the advice I'm giving you here in this lecture, then you want to follow the submission guidelines. It's really important to respect whatever the editor is asking for if you're going to be sending them a pitch. So always look at the submission guidelines if they are available. Some publications have them, some publications don't, but make sure that you look for them, and if they're there, follow them to the letter. So after you spend some time studying the publication, you want to brainstorm your article ideas. And as you're brainstorming ideas that you'll eventually be pitching, you want to make sure your ideas fit the unique needs of the publication. Now, this is one of the areas where many writers, especially writers who are new to freelance writing, go wrong, is they start with the idea that they want of an article they want to write, and then they find the publication. But that's kind of backwards order, because every publication really has a unique angle on things. They have a unique readership. They have a unique style. The editor has unique obsessions and interests. And you really want to tailor your pitch exactly to that audience and that editor and that specific publication as much as possible. So really make sure that your idea is unique. And then not just that, you want to look at the department or the category your idea will fit into. So the word department kind of comes from the world of magazines, where magazines are often broken up into sections or departments. For example, there's often a back page that is like a recurring essay. There's often an events section in a magazine, different recurring columns, and those are what are called departments, which are basically recurring categories of articles that are published in every issue. And now a publication might not have specific departments, but they may have specific types of articles that they publish on a regular basis. Even if they don't specifically spell that out on their website, you really want to have a clear idea of what those recurring categories are. Maybe they regularly do interviews with celebrities in their field, or maybe they have a regular how-to series. So really get a sense of the departments and which department your idea will fit into. And not only that, sometimes specific departments are just covered and they always have the same author or two authors. So make sure that there's multiple bylines within those departments. And that's important, especially for the bigger publications. So get a sense of who's writing for those departments and whether or not you have a chance to fit into those specific departments. So once you've done that research, you want to create 5 ideas. And those 5 ideas, as I said, should be unique to the publication. And then for each idea, write a headline. And then imagine those headlines in the publication. And for each headline, think, okay, it will be in this section of the website or this department of the magazine. And as you see it there in your mind's eye, say, does it really fit? Does it really fit the type of article they want in this part of their publication or not? And this is the time where you really just got to be really brutally honest with yourself, because if it doesn't fit, that's going to be an automatic rejection. So you really got to make sure it does fit and you know how it's going to fit in the publishing schedule of the publication. You really want to get a good sense of that. And finally, after you've gone through that process with those 5 ideas, you choose one idea, just one idea. And that's what you're going to pitch an editor. So you've gone through the process, you've researched the publication, and you have chosen an idea to pitch. So you're ready to start writing the pitch. So the core of what you want to do in a pitch is you want to summarize your idea. And this is where you really want to be as concise as possible. I was browsing through case studies of successful freelance writers. These case studies are articles I've published where writers talk about how they got published. And one of the case studies included a pitch that was eventually successful. And this pitch had a very short description. It was just the headline that they were proposing: how a micro fashion influencer leverages Instagram to land paid opportunities. Sometimes all you need for your article description is the headline that you came up during your brainstorming process. That alone can be enough to get your pitch accepted. But you may go into more detail, and it depends on the type of article you're publishing. For a feature article, as this example is, you'll want to include a little bit more than a headline. So This example of an article description says, I have attached an unpublished feature. Noticed she says feature right there. That means she is pitching the specific department. The category of article is a feature article. So I've attached an unpublished feature on native Nikki Pilkington titled From Pinland to Palm Springs, the Young Welsh Illustrator Living the American Dream. She also includes the proposed title and I like that she includes the title because it is a very clear description of the proposed article. Right off the bat, the editor will know in that first sentence what the article is about. And they can decide that, yes, this is something I'm interested in, or no, this is not something I'm interested in. You're making it easy for them by having a good title right off the bat at the beginning of your pitch. So she goes on to give a few more details to flesh out the ideas she'll cover in her article. And she also mentions the readers. She says she would love to share her passion with your readers. And that also shows that she has an awareness, as I talked about earlier, of the readers, the two audiences, the reader and the editor. She's showing awareness of both of those in this example. So here's another quick example that I recently accepted. Someone wrote, I would like to propose a case study about how I broke into the Smart Mouth newsletter and got paid $1 per word. In my case study, I'll share how I studied the publication, chose an angle that might get the editor's attention, and used my bio as a marketing tool. As the editor of Freedom with Writing, this is exactly the type of article I like to publish. We don't have our departments laid out, but we regularly publish case studies. And so it was clear immediately that she was proposing a case study. I knew where it would fit in the publication. And then her short description beyond that made it very clear that it was exactly the type of article I wanted to get published. So that is a big part of why I accepted that pitch. So as I said before, the headline can be enough. You don't need to go into a lot of detail. You just want to make it really, really easy for the editor to understand what your article idea is. The easier, the better. So sometimes all it takes is the headline, but another sentence or two sentences, sometimes 3 sentences can be enough on top of the headline, but you really do want to keep it as concise as possible. So after you propose your article idea, you want to share a little bit about yourself. The editor does need to know a little bit, but not a lot, about who you are and maybe why you're proposing to write the article for them. So here's an example. This is from someone named Matt Geiser. And I published an article from him that was also a case study about how he got published and paid, I think, $500 for a how-to publication. And this is his bio and the bio he used in his pitch. I'm Matt Geiser, a software developer with the city of Calgary, the #1 ranked solver on MindSumo, a computer engineering graduate of Queen's University, a top 50 Major League Hacking hacker of 2020, and avid hackathon attendee and a frequent writer on everything from Quora to Stack Overflow to Hacker News. Now, the type of publication he was pitching was a software engineering publication. So that's why he included software developer right off the bat. You want to include details about yourself that match and reinforce the proposal you are offering the editor. So if there is a specific detail in your life that really supports the fact that you're knowledgeable about the article you're proposing, or that you care about the article you're proposing, then include that in your pitch and in your About Me section. And that About Me section should be really short. 30 words is a good length. Another example, I'm a freelance journalist specializing in lifestyle and travel. Case studies have always been my favorite feature of Freedom with Writing, and I finally feel confident enough to put myself forward. I really like this example because it is short, and clear and concise. And she says her specialization, she doesn't include a link to any publications or even mention previous publications in this section. She's just really it's clear that she cares about the work she's doing. And that is something that matters a lot to editors. Here's another example of how you can include a few details in terms of previous publications. This is a very common formula for about me sections or bios. You say where you're from, you say your profession, and you list a few publications you've been published in and a few details that are personal about yourself. It's short and personal and professional altogether. And this is also a very good example. So finally, you have proposed your article idea. You've said a little bit about yourself. And the next thing you need to do is ask for a response. That is ultimately what you want from the editor. So you want to go ahead and just ask them to respond in some way. This is something that Ian Chandler, my co-founder at Writing Launch and quite a successful freelance writer, learned early on in the process, that he ends his pitches with a question, and that question elicits a response from the editor, and that has really, really helped his response rate and his level of success with freelance writing. So you want to ask for a response, and it can just be really simple. For example, I can have this article ready by X date. Does that work for you? It can say, do you think this piece could work for you? Just a simple question. You're making it clear that you are listening to the editor. You're not assuming that it works for them. You're asking, and you're also giving them an opportunity to say yes. And then you sign off. You say, sincerely, your name, sincerely, Jacob Jans. That's it. So let's put it all together. Your pitch, which should be no more than 150 words, should start with a short sentence like, I would like to propose an article. And then you describe the article. And then you say a few words about yourself. And then you ask a simple question like, does this fit your needs? And then you sign off, sincerely, your name. And that is the basic structure of a pitch. And as I said before, it really does need to be shorter than 150 words. And if you can get it even shorter than that, while still really clearly communicating your idea, then that is great. Aim for 100 words. And if it goes over a little, that's okay. So even though this is like in some ways really simple, there's unfortunately a lot of common mistakes that writers go through. It is really simple, but it's not necessarily really easy. That's part of why we exist. Writing Launch exists because it isn't necessarily easy. We spend a lot of time with our students really helping them refine their pitches. We regularly read draft pitches from our students and then provide feedback on those pitches, and that often really makes such a huge difference. As an experienced editor and writer, I see so many common errors in pitches that are so easy to avoid if you have the right information and the right knowledge, but you have to get that knowledge somehow. I've covered as much as I can in this time. I'm going to go over a little bit more. At Writing Launch, we do have like weeks-long courses that really go into detail about how to send a good pitch. But let's talk about some of the common mistakes. So maybe you can avoid some of these common mistakes. So the first common mistake that I see over and over again when I'm reading pitches from our writers who want to work with me is they make it about themselves and not about the editor's needs. And it's funny because often one of the biggest red flags is when I get a pitch from someone who is really, really experienced and who's an expert in their field, and they make themselves seem so incredible and amazing, and they talk themselves up. And I immediately think this person is full of themselves. I've had some bad experience experiences as an editor working with people who are just all about themselves, even if they are incredibly skilled and gifted. I think most editors have that same experience. So even if you think you deserve it, and I mean, you may well deserve it and be wonderful and the most incredible writer in the world, don't make it about how incredible you are. Make it about the editor's needs. So another thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you are sending it to the correct editor. If it's a huge publication with multiple editors, make sure that you're not sending your proposed article idea to the editor-in-chief. If they have 8 editors, they'll likely have an editor for the specific department that you want to get published in. Another thing to keep in mind is so many writers, they send the pitch and they get excited and they want to find out the response right away. As an editor, I have gotten a pitch and then an hour later, I got an email saying, why didn't you respond to my pitch? And then an hour after that, I got another angry email. And then I wake up the next day, get to work, and there's 12 emails in my inbox from a writer who was upset that I did not respond to them yet. Unfortunately, this is something that has happened to most editors. So do not do this. And also be aware that most editors have had this experience. So you want to be really, really careful, really, really respectful of their time. If you're going to send a follow-up, don't do it too soon. Do it once, be patient. And if you can't be patient, find a way to be patient. It's just part of the process. So another common mistake is not carefully following the submission guidelines. I know I have spelled out a really simple way of sending a pitch, but if the submission guidelines want you to do it in a different way, you got to do what the submission guidelines say. That's just how it is. Editors have submission guidelines for a reason. Another thing you really want to be careful about is copying pitch templates exactly. Many of you know Ian Chandler has put out a really great pitch template. Unfortunately, I, as an editor, have gotten articles from that pitch template, pitches from that pitch template that had it word for word, and they said all of the same words in the pitch except for their article idea, and their article idea had nothing to do at all with my publication. So if you're copying a pitch template, it's probably just not going to work. Editors get so many pitches, they can tell when it's not in your words and your language. And as I said before, you're really demonstrating your ability to write, not the person who wrote the pitch template, not their ability to write. So you don't want to have a lengthy article description. You don't want to have a lengthy biography. Don't include irrelevant information. Just stay focused on what the editor needs to know in terms of whether or not they should accept the pitch. And finally, one more common mistake is writers proposing too much for a new relationship with an editor. If you are new to a publication and you want to start working with them, don't propose to write a year-long series of articles unless they've specifically called for writers to apply for that. Propose one simple short article. When an editor starts working with you, they're taking a risk on you. So don't make that risk too big. Make it seem like it's not a risk at all. So propose something that is a good fit for you, your experience level, and the type of pitch that you can write. So don't propose too much. So before you send the pitch, you know you've done all of this work. You've done the research, you've written the pitch. If you can, ask a trusted friend or an expert for feedback, because once you send the pitch, you can't fix any of those simple mistakes that are often really easy to fix if you know what you're doing. So fix those simple mistakes if you can. Ask a friend for feedback, and maybe even tell them the process that you went through and ask them to go through that same process, but with your specific pitch in mind. And just get someone else's opinion. And then only then are you ready to send the pitch. And once you send the pitch, here's what you should do. Number one, you should go back to that mindset that you should expect rejection, and not even expect rejection. Look forward to rejection, because if you are regularly getting rejections from editors, that means you're regularly also going to have opportunities to get published. So the more you send out pitches, the more chances you have to actually get a pitch accepted. So expect rejection, and then maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised when your pitch is accepted. So another thing to do is think about when you should follow up, because unfortunately, a lot of editors just don't respond to pitches. Maybe they spend some time thinking about the pitch. They're like, I might accept, this is something I've done. I've thought, I might accept this pitch. It's a good idea. Let me think about it. And then I've thought about the pitch, and then I've had 30 things on my to-do list, and I've gone through those 30 things, and I'm tired at the end of the day. I wake up the next morning and there's 30 more things on my to-do list, so I've forgotten about the pitch. So it's okay to follow up. When you follow up, wait 2 weeks, unless it's an article that is really timely, say based on an event. And in your follow-up, just be one sentence, include one sentence saying, hey, I just want to make sure you got this. Let me know if you have any questions. That's all you need to say. And the other thing you want to do is start drafting your next pitch. That's one of the best ways to stop thinking about your initial pitch, is to just start drafting the next one. Each pitch you send out is an opportunity. And if you're not sending out pitches, you're not giving yourself opportunities. And unfortunately, a lot of editors just aren't going to take you up on those opportunities. That's the reality of freelance writing. But if you're not giving yourself opportunities, if you're not sending a pitch, you'll never get published. So even if you think to yourself, this pitch is not perfect, even if you think to yourself, I know I could have written a better pitch, go ahead and send one anyways. Ultimately, the only thing that matters is whether or not you take action and send a pitch. Your next one can be better, so why not start working on your next pitch? So now I want to talk about, for those interested, our gift to you from Writing Launch. We really believe in helping writers succeed, and we want to give something to you to make sure that is possible. I personally, or Ian Chandler, who is really, really good at this, want to give you expert feedback on your next pitch. We want to train you and teach you everything you need to learn in order to send a really good pitch and get published and paid. And we are very happy to do that for you. We know it is difficult to learn these things on your own, but if you have someone guiding you, it is not that hard. Ultimately, you just got to learn the steps. You got to learn some common mistakes and get some feedback from someone who really knows what you're doing, and then you can be on your way to success. So I also want to give you access to our database of 1,800 publishers, including payment rates and contact information. We have a team member, as I said earlier, who works on this every week, adding more publishers. They add hundreds of calls for writers every week. And so, I mean, every month, every month. And this is something that is included in Writing Launch membership, and something I want to give you. So we also have, I think, 10 courses now that go in depth on various aspects of freelance writing and establishing a freelance writing career. And this is something that you can get access to. You can get access to all of our courses, all of our training. And the price that I'm going to ask you to pay is absolutely nothing. I want to give this to you for free for an entire month. And in that month, you can take full advantage of everything. I know for myself and Ian, we're going to be working really hard. When we give away a free month of membership, it is a lot of work on our end. So I ask that you put in the work too if you join us. And after that free month, you can choose to continue, or you can not continue. That's totally up to you. You don't have to pay us a penny. I know many of you will want to continue, and you'll see the incredible value we have to offer our Writing Launch members. So I hope I can help you. I hope Ian Chandler can help you, and that we can really help you get published and paid as a freelance writer. So now, if you do want to take advantage of this, just please be sure to use the coupon code DONATE when you sign up for Writing Launch. You can go to writinglaunch.com right now and sign up. Now I'm going to take questions from the audience. I have the chat right here. So I see a question from Charles. He says, if you don't hear anything, that means to forget about it. If the publisher or editor is interested, really interested, she will contact you. I'm sorry, that was not the question I thought. Where was that question? So someone asked, if a pitch is rejected, is it okay to send another pitch idea on a later date? And it is absolutely okay to send another pitch idea on a later date. You don't want to pitch too often. You want to give a break to the editors so they don't feel like you're harassing them, but you really should be. If you really want to be published by a publication, go ahead, send them a pitch. And if you're sending them ideas that really fit their needs and what they're looking for, they will appreciate that, even if your ideas don't quite work for them. And eventually they might start giving you suggestions for sending better pitches to them. Ultimately, what you want to do is build a relationship with an editor. So send them good ideas based on their unique needs, spend time thinking about their unique needs, and also respect their time. So maybe wait 6 weeks between pitches before sending another pitch. Someone asked the coupon code again. The coupon code is DONATE, DONATE. If you want the free month of membership, the coupon code again is DONATE. Someone asked, why don't most editors respond, even if it's a no? So this gets into a few different issues. One, most editors don't respond because they are frankly very, very busy, and they only have time to respond if they're going to accept the pitch. Another reason editors don't respond, and this is a reason I've not responded, is because I was seriously considering accepting the pitch, and I put it on the back burner and then forgot about it. That's why following up is important. So if you are, another question, what if you're pitching an already published article? If you have an article that's been published by another publication, what if you want to get it published again and maybe get paid for it this time? Well, unfortunately, what I recommend is not pitching an article that's already been written, whether or not it's been published. I really recommend really tailoring your article ideas to the publication that you want to publish in, because that will greatly increase your chances that your pitch will be accepted. So all of your publications, all of your pitches should really be super tailored, very precisely tuned to the exact publication. So if an article is a really great idea and works really well for one publication, it may not work so well for another publication, especially if it is really tuned to one publication. So really keep that in mind. Favor Ugu asked, can these ideas be used when writing proposals? I'm not quite sure what you mean by proposals, but these ideas that I'm talking about really are tailored only to pitching editors of publications. If you say you want to write for a small business, doing newsletters for them, for example, you're going to go through a different process. You got to sell the value in a different way. So another writer asks, Steve asks, in what ways can freelance writing enhance becoming a published creative writer? Now that's an interesting question because a lot of creative writers, they use their freelance writing to support their creative writing career. You'll notice that often when a book is coming out, excerpts of that book may be published in various publications, and that is one way that you can support your creative writing career. It is sort of a different path, but it can be done. If you have a creative writing project, such as a book that you're working on, you can propose articles that match that book in some way. Maybe it's a memoir, and you can propose articles that are related to that memoir, or say, this is related to this creative writing project that I'm working on. But generally, you really want to think about creative writing and freelance writing as separate careers and separate paths. Carrie asks, if your pitch is accepted and you work with an editor on the piece, is it okay to pitch them another idea when you're closing out the work on the first article? I would recommend, before sending another idea to an editor, finishing your first article with them. You really want to prove yourself with an editor before moving on and proposing more ideas. They want to see that you can do the job. And then after you've done the job, I would then propose another article idea. Helen asks, what is the painting behind you? It looks like Inception. That is a print of a painting by Jeremy Miranda. He is a wonderful artist, and I recommend looking him up if you're interested. His name is Jeremy Miranda. So that's about all the time I have today. I'll do one more question. Cheryl asks, are freelancers typically asked what they want to get paid, or do they tell the writer what the pub is willing to pay? So this is a really good question, because obviously you're going to want to get paid. And often you'll send a pitch to an editor, and the editor will say, okay, I accept your pitch. And then you think, am I getting paid or not? Another common mistake writers make is they talk about payment when they send the pitch. Don't do that. The appropriate time to bring up payment is after the pitch has been accepted. And if it's not clear after the editor accepts the pitch, just send a quick email saying, I'd be happy to do this. Can you please tell me what your rates are? Generally for publications, the editors set the rates, and you can either accept that or ask for a little more. But the editor will generally tell you what their rate is when they commission the piece. So that is all the time we have for today. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. And I'm really happy to see so many writers here from around the world. And I hope that you've gotten a lot of value out of this. And for those of you interested in joining us for that free month of membership with Writing Launch, I am very happy to help you succeed with your freelance writing career. Ian Chandler, my business partner, expert freelance writer, is really happy to help you succeed with freelance writing. You can get a free month of membership in Writing Launch. Just be sure to use the coupon code DONATE. The code is DONATE. You can join us for free. You don't have to pay a penny. After the free month, you can choose to continue, or you can just decide that's enough. That's completely up to you. Go to writinglaunch.com. Our coupon code is DONATE for the free month of membership. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.